Hello everyone! It's been 3 weeks since the launch of Battlefield 6, and I thought it could be fun to see how it's doing and rank each of its parts by also comparing them to its older brothers in the franchise. For starters, I would like to say that this game was a long time coming. The community had been waiting for years for a return to good old boots on the ground warfare, after absolutely despising that shit show that Battlefield 2042 was. Do you even remember in what state it was released? Not even. Do you remember the open beta? I did. I remember how absolutely buggy and shit it was, but not anymore because DICE decided to grow a new pair, turn a new leaf so to speak, and released an absolute banger of a beta, which I played the heck out of. The hype was immeasurable both for me and for the rest of the community, because the game is good, and it was released without major issues, but not all that's good is great, and I will point out some issues I have with it, because I love Battlefield, and I hope it stays great for years to come. For example, let's talk about the content that we got at launch. We have a total of 9 maps. Operation Firestorm, which is a classic. We have Merrick Valley, I think, Saints Quarter, Empire State, New Sobek City, Iberian Offense, Liberation Peak, and then Siege of Cairo. I'll go more in depth as to why some of these are great and some aren't. But I'd say that this is about on par with what we've gotten in other games in the franchise, although they do feel and play differently. Which is something I'll touch on later as well. We also have approximately 45 guns to play with, which is somewhat above average. Battlefield 4 had more than 80 weapons at launch, but that's because they were ported directly from BF3, which had almost 50. The number of gadgets and class abilities is also on par with other games in the franchise, so I can honestly say I have no bones to pick with the number of toys I can play with right now. There's always room for improvement, but this is really a good start. Let's talk about something that's very dear to each and every Battlefield player, which is the gunplay. It feels good, it's snappy, it's rewarding, each gun sounds and feels different niche, even in the same weapon classes. Each weapon has a learning curve and you behave a lot differently depending on the attachment you put on them, which I really appreciate. Each gun has a meaty sound to it, and I haven't noticed any issues with the netcode or hit registration and all that stuff. I would say Battlefield 6 nailed it with this one, and it's definitely going to be its strongest point going forwards. But we now move on to the actual balance of the game, and each person I've talked to has complained about different things. I've heard shotguns are too powerful, the M4 should be nerfed, and many other things. But at this point in time, it's too early for people to even have tried the full selection of weapons. But I would say most people are happy with the state of things, and most guns and classes are proper used, and none of them feel completely useless. Even what I thought was the most controversial change, having the assault class both bringing a rifle and a shotgun into battle, had nobody crying and complaining. But what about progression? Do we like the challenges system? I think we do. I don't find them overly complicated, although there's a couple that could have done with some tuning, don't get me wrong. But overall, you can unlock most stuff by just playing, and the rest you need to change your gameplay a bit and try new weapons and gadgets you wouldn't usually do. What I'm most worried about is that we will end up with nothing to do after 50 hours in. But to be honest, that's the case with most Battlefield games. Overall, nothing too spectacular, but still serviceable. Oh man, we finally get to something I can complain about. The maps. They're too small. We've been saying this since the beta, but what we feared most came true. Where are my huge Battlefield maps? Well, we're stuck with shitty Liberation Peak, which I'm gonna be honest, I really don't like, and a couple of other maps that should have been considered mid-sized at best. They don't play badly, I would say, but there's some oomph missing to them. They look great, don't get me wrong. I'll just be waiting for a real man's map coming with DLCs and whatnot. Look, I'm a sucker for how the old Battlefields used to look, and I cannot help to feel that this is just not hitting the same vibes. It could just be my issue. I can keep talking on end how great the gameplay feels, but we've gotten to the point where Battlefield just feels like the average modern shooter with realistic tendencies. There's something in the colors, the player models, the absolute dumpster fuck that is Pax and Matter. Super uninteresting. Now, does Battlefield 6 have staying power? Possibly. Battlefields have always remained relevant over the years. Thousands of people still play Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1, and Battlefield 5 today, and seeing how well Battlefield 6 launched to the general public, I can expect it will do differently. Portal sounds like a good idea to have people stay hooked on the game for years on end. But what gets me worried is the amount of content the game will need to keep people hooked in 2025. 10 years ago, you could just get away with a half-cooked first impression because you could just enjoy it and wait 3 months for the next DLC to come out and give you a couple more maps and a few new stories to play with. But nowadays, there's just so much competition for a player's attention. It just feels to me that the vanilla experience won't be enough, and most people will just go at a moment's notice. We can only hope that they come up with something to keep players engaged. But looking at the ratings I gave it, I would say the game is in perfectly good health, and most people can expect it to last for a couple more months perhaps. There's no major issue that needs resolving, and most people are having a blast with it. If you haven't bought it yet, you probably should, because Battlefield 6 has succeeded. But as always, we're going to have to see what DICE has in store for us. You could just go from good to bad and bad to worse in a blink if they make the wrong choices. And they've shown us they can do so. So we'll just have to wait and see. If you enjoyed this little TED Talk of mine, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment down below if you feel like it. Thanks, and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye.